Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Allison, thank you for being here. I've got just a couple of questions. I'm just inquiring, okay? I'm not going to be confrontational. I don't want you to be defensive, but I need to understand some things. First of all, thank you for what you do, and thank all of your members and your staff for what they do. This is important. We understand that, and we appreciate that. But it's my understanding that many countries assess a fee or a tax, if you will, on airlines whenever we have a passenger from the U.S. landing in their country. Is that true? Now, you have to understand, I've not traveled much. In fact, I said before this committee yesterday that I've only been to 2 countries in my life, and that's one more than I wanted to go to. So I'm asking, is that true?
Mr. Congressman, I'm not aware of that.
Well, that's the way I understand it, and what I understand is that the airlines are having to absorb this fee because the federal air marshals don't compensate for it. So whenever they are flying over there, it's my understanding that the airlines are having to absorb this fee, and that's just something I need to understand and need to inquire about.
I'll provide you a follow-up on that point.
Thank you. I want to follow up on a line of questions that I believe the chairman of the subcommittee, Mr. Katko, had addressed earlier, and that's about the air marshals flying first class. It's my understanding, and I've heard some horror stories, to be quite honest with you. In fact, I heard a story that's been communicated to us where there were like 6 air marshals flying first class, and there were another group on a competing airline that the flight got canceled, and they came over and they wanted the first class seats also, and all of a sudden the whole first class cabin was taken up by air marshals, and that just doesn't seem right. Can you provide to us how often your employees are flying first class and how often they're flying coach? I'll be quite honest, I flew first class one time, and that was really not by choice. That was the only seat they had available, and I was with my family, and my 3 sons got to fighting about who was going to sit in first class, and finally I resolved it by sitting there myself. So that was the only reason I was really flying first class. I'm just wondering why the air marshals have got to fly first class.
Well, Mr. Congressman, I can't elaborate in an open hearing about our tactical seating. I'll be happy to discuss with you in private and answer any question you may have. I will assure you that, as I stated before, our impact upon the aviation industry, we view it as a partnership. And, as a matter of practice, those things are managed to a very high degree. So I look forward to having a private conversation with you in a closed setting, and I will give you the full plethora of information with regard to where we sit and why we sit there.
Okay, well, I certainly respect that. I understand there are probably situations where you would, but it just seems to me like you wouldn't need the whole first class cabin.
I would agree with you.
I suspect you would. Well, and I can certainly understand if this is sensitive or not, but it would appear to me that it would be, especially in light of the fact that we've made so much progress on the doors, the cabin doors now, to where they're secure, that the real target is going to be around the wings and the fuel tanks, and that's where we really ought to have the agents or the marshals. Am I correct in that?
Well, sir, when you get to the notion of as you're referring, the evolving threat, as the chairman stated, IEDs. Every day in TSA, we start our day with intelligence briefings. And I don't have to tell you, gentlemen, the threat to this country has never been higher. Certainly debatable, I would agree with you. Has the threat evolved, or have our adversaries chosen additional methods of which to cause us harm? Which doesn't mean that the old ones went away and we can't ignore them. Now, we're not sitting around waiting for the last threat. We are watching for that, but we're also looking for the new threat. And, we got our eye on that, and we're looking at IEDs on aircrafts and the potential to do so. I will tell you, Mr. Congressman, Christmas Day 2009, I was at home preparing dinner with my mother, and I got the call of this guy who tried to light his underwear on fire. Now, we weren't on that flight, but we were on the one just before that. So, if there's an incident on an aircraft, I'm very confident our folks are going to respond regardless of where they are on that aircraft. So, I guess to your point is, wherever that incident is, we're going to respond to it.
Okay. Well, you see where I'm going with this, and just, I mean, I give you the benefit of the doubt, but just please, let's make sure we're taking care of this. And again, thank you for your work and for what you do.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mr.
Thank you,
Congressman.
Mr. Chairman.